Today we're moving on to lesson 4.5. Remember, we're still planning for the test on Friday, so continue to post questions that you have to get ready for that in that discussion board. Lesson 4.5, we're moving on to graphs of the reciprocal functions. Remember, the reciprocal functions were the secant, the cosecant, and the cotangent, and each one of those are listed here for you as well in case you need a reminder. These top six really are review for your Unit 4 test as well. We're looking for the cotangent of 120 degrees. Again, I'm going to come over here, draw a rough sketch. 120 would be here. That means my cosine is negative 1/2, and my sine is negative radical 3/2. My first thought process then is the tangent is radical 3/2 divided by negative 1/2. When I simplify that, I get negative radical 3, and then when I'm doing the cotangent, I need to take the reciprocal. So the reciprocal would be 1 over negative 3, which eventually simplifies to negative radical 3/3. Moving on to the next one, I want the secant of 120 degrees. I'm at the same location. Remember, the secant is related to the cosine. It's C with an S and S with a C. The secant on 120 degrees is equivalent to 1 over the cosine of 120 degrees is equal to negative 1/2. I take the reciprocal, I get negative 2. Next, cosecant of 60 degrees. That puts me right here. The cosecant is the reciprocal of the sine. I can see the sine is the larger value. So the sine at 60 degrees is radical 3/2. Again, I'm going to take the reciprocal. That would be 2 over radical 3. When I simplify, I get 2 radical 3/3. Moving on to the next one, I'm looking at the cosecant of pi over 2 radians. So pi over 2 radians would put me at the top of that unit circle, which is here. The coordinates of that point are 0, 1. The cosecant is related to the sine. The sine of pi over 2 is equal to 1. The reciprocal is still 1. I'm going to pause, give you a minute to look at the next two, and I'll place my answers down as well. Put my final answers for the secant with a little bit of work for you as well. So today what we're going to be doing is graphing the secant, the cosecant, and the cotangent. We're going to go to Desmos and we're going to graph both of these. Remember, we can use that symbol. We have a reminder up here to change it to radians and also change the step to pi. I'm going to go ahead and pause, go to Desmos, and get both of those graphed. And actually, before we do that, let's go ahead and graph the cosine, because we know we can graph that one all on our own. The cosine starts at our maximum, which is 1. Remember, it has a period of 2 pi. That would be right here. Halfway in the middle, it's at that minimum value. And I can continue back here. Remember, this function is even, which means it's symmetric with respect to the y-axis. There we go. Now I'm going to go ahead and pause it, type in that secant, and graph that. We've already analyzed the graph according to the cosine many times. This information is going to be analyzing with respect to the secant. Here's my graph on Desmos. And again, if you need some help getting the graph to pop up, you're going to go up to this little icon. You're going to change this to step, and I literally just typed in pi, and it automatically changed it to pi, and make sure you're on radians. Now we're going to go ahead and sketch this on our paper so we have an idea of what the secant looks like. Notice, in this case, it's the blue, and every pi over 2, you actually have an asymptotes. So notice pi over 2, 3 pi over 2, 5 pi over 2, 7 pi over 2. That's a whole lot different than the cosine graph that we had looked like. And if you think about the y there, right here at one of these points, your cosine would be equal to 0, Well, at 1 over 0, you end up with lots of points that are undefined. I'm going to flip back, and let's go ahead and sketch that graph on our paper. I already drew in the asymptotes for us. If you think about this point right here, the reciprocal of 1 would be 1 over 1. So one of the parts of the graph, like this one, the reciprocal here, continued here, and here. Now let's go ahead and analyze it. I don't have a minimum, and I don't have a maximum. We're not really dealing with an amplitude here, although we could be dealing with an amplitude. If you think about your definition of a midline or definition of an amplitude, it's the distance from the midline to that point here or below, so your amplitude would be 1. There's no vertical shifts that we're talking about this part at this time. The asymptotes, there are several asymptotes going on here. We said they are at pi over 2 plus every time you're adding on a pi times n. So you're adding on a 1 pi or a 2 pi or a 3 pi. And we could be doing the same thing when we go backwards. We're starting here, we're subtracting a pi, another pi, and another pi. The period is 2 pi. At this point, we don't have a phase shift. Our domain is negative infinity to infinity, but we have all of those asymptotes. So we're going to write that as x is not equal to negative pi over 2 plus pi n. Our range, we are going from negative infinity up to negative 1, and then we are going from 1 to infinity. I'm going to pause just a second, give you a chance to make sure everything's written down. All right, moving on to the sine and the cosecant. Again, let's go ahead and graph the sine. Remember, it starts at the origin. Its period is 2 pi, and halfway in the middle, I'm back at that 0. And this one, if you remember, was odd. That means it has point symmetry. So we're going here, here. And again, we're going to go back to Desmos. So I'm going to pause it for a moment. Actually, I might have it ready. Let me take a look. Let's go back here. I'm typing in y equals the sine of x. And we are typing in y equals the cosecant of x. Actually, it looks pretty similar to the secant. Again, we've got asymptotes, but again, they're at different locations, which makes sense because the zeros of a sine are in different locations as the zeros of the cosine. Let's go back here. Let's make a sketch. So again, real quick, if you notice, I forgot to mark that down. Our asymptotes are at pi, and then every pi thereafter. So first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and mark those. My asymptotes were at pi. Taking that other color, I'm here. If I take the reciprocal of 1 over 1, it's still 1. So we are here. Lots of similarities in terms of the properties for this one as well. No min, no max, amplitude of 1. Our asymptotes are pi plus pi n. Our period is still 2 pi. In this case, we don't have a phase shift. Our domain is negative infinity to infinity, except for, again, x cannot be equal equal to pi plus pi n. Our range is still the same, negative infinity to negative 1, and from 1 to positive infinity. Okay, last graph is the tangent. I'm going to pause it and get that one set up for us as well. Alright, the first graph I have done is y equals tangent of x. We hadn't done this one before. Again, lots of asymptotes. That occurs at the very top of the unit circle and at the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and add on y equals cotangent of x. Notice in that case, those are really point symmetry about each of these pi over 2. So they're almost the same. Let's go back and graph on our notes. So I drew in my asymptotes with respect to the tangent. We're starting here. And notice it's getting larger and larger. Same thing down here. Again, here and here, here and here. And then finally, we've got to go do the cotangent. I'm going to pause it just because I want to try and keep our time to about 15 minutes. I went ahead and filled in the graphs for the cotangent. Those are the green graphs. I also went ahead and filled in most of the characteristics. Similar again, you've got some asymptotes here. Biggest change here is notice your period is no longer 2 pi, it's just equal to pi. Again, domain, we've got some restrictions, and another big change is the range is negative infinity to infinity. We will not emphasize these graphs near as much as we did the cosine, the sine. However, those same properties that we talked about with respect to the sine and cosine are still true here, meaning we still have the vertical shifts, phase shifts, etc. The first one I've given you in standard form, we're going to change that to fireproof form. And notice I've got 3x. I'm going to write that as x over 1/3. Now we can quickly see we have an amplitude of 2. We have shifted down, let's try again, up 1, and in this case our period is equal to 2 pi times 1/3, which would be 2 pi over 3. The next one I gave it to you in fireproof form. First of all, we're going to go ahead and change it to standard form. That would be y equals 3 times the tangent of x over 2. In that case again, we have an amplitude of 3, and we have a change in the period. Our normal period again is pi. In this case, our period would be equal to pi times 2, which would be 2 pi. Let's go look at this next one real quick. I've got y plus 3 cotangent, and again we've got a change going on in here. I'm going to multiply the top of this and the bottom of this by 1/2. That gives me x plus pi over 4, and in the denominator 1/2. That means we are translating down 3. We are going left pi over 4. Our normal period for cotangent is pi, but again, we've got 1/2 of pi, which would give us pi over 2. Finally, the last one, they gave us the changes in the graph. We have to come back and write the equation. I'm going left 4, so that would equate to, doesn't look like I'm shifting any up or down, but I do have a period of 4. We've got cosecant. It's going left 4, and we do have a change in the period. The period is normally 2 pi, but in this case it is pi. We're going to write that as 1/2. Finally, flipping that to standard form. Again, I'm going to multiply this by 2 over 2. That would give me a 2x plus 8. finishing this up. You have a math